Yes, the U.S. GDP data was released, revealing a decline of 0.9%. This indicates the second consecutive quarter of negative GDP, which traditionally signifies a recession. However, the United States government has modified the recession definition within their organization and on Wikipedia, attempting to downplay the situation. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen claims that the U.S. economy is not experiencing a broad-based weakening, while President Joe Biden believes there is no recession, citing job growth and increased manufacturing. Although members of the Biden administration argue that 2 quarters of negative GDP do not necessarily indicate a recession, I would argue that it is a strong indicator. It is worth noting that the same people who assured us that inflation would be transitory are now dismissing the possibility of a recession entirely. Michael Strain, the Director of Economic Policies and Studies at the American Enterprise Institute, provided a compelling example. Out of the previous 10 instances where the U.S. economy encountered 2 consecutive quarters of negative growth, a recession was officially declared each time. These facts suggest that we cannot confidently assert that we are most likely not in a recession. Therefore, it raises questions as to why President Biden is adamant about denying a recession. Could it be due to his polling numbers or other undisclosed data? On a positive note, there may be a desire to avoid triggering widespread layoffs by officially acknowledging a recession. On a negative note, President Biden's approval rating is currently lower than Trump's when there were suspicions of him being a Russian spy, and the election is only 100 days away. It is plausible that political interests are being protected, or perhaps the economy is being safeguarded. Regardless, changing the definition just days before the data is released is a tactic that attempts to deceive the public, but we see through such attempts. Meanwhile, the United States has taken a step towards competing with China as the House recently passed the $280 billion Advanced Chip Production for America Act. However, doubts were initially raised about the bill's passage when Republicans claimed they had enough votes to block it. Now, there is a sense of betrayal among House Republicans due to Senator Manchin and Senator Chuck Schumer. After intense arguments, particularly during the summer regarding a costly climate bill, the 2 senators have reached an agreement to spend an additional $500 billion. In conclusion, while the United States faces economic challenges, denying a recession based on altered definitions and political interests raises concerns. The nation also moves forward with legislation to bolster its position in the global chip production industry, albeit not without its share of political tensions and uncertainties. House Republicans went along with Democrats based on the understanding that there would be no attempt to pass another $500 billion for climate change. However, just one day after the chip production bill passed, Senators Manchin and Schumer revealed that they had secretly worked on a new climate bill. This news left House Republicans feeling betrayed as they had voted in good faith, believing in the negotiations. They now feel deceived and abandoned. Despite their discontent, the bill has passed and awaits President Biden's signature. While President Biden aims to gain a technological advantage over China, he also seeks common ground to ease tensions between the 2 countries. President Biden recently had a lengthy phone conversation with Chinese President Xi Jinping, during which he emphasized that the United States strongly opposes unilateral actions that could destabilize peace and stability across the Taiwan Strait. However, despite President Biden's efforts, President Xi Jinping warned him that those who provoke China would suffer the consequences. Many pundits suggest that China dominated the conversation, essentially demanding submission from the United States. In the midst of these developments, Nancy Pelosi reportedly plans to visit Taiwan. However, the Chinese People's Liberation Army issued a warning, stating, "Get ready for action," in anticipation of Pelosi's trip. Chinese publications have claimed that China has the right to block Pelosi's plane from entering Taiwan or Chinese airspace, as they consider Taiwan to be part of China. This disagreement on Pelosi's visit has created a rift between China and the United States. Concerns arise when considering the international news regarding China's threat to seize Pelosi's plane. Pelosi currently holds the 3rd highest position of power in the United States, making this a significant issue. Reports suggest that top Chinese military officials have stated that if the plane enters Chinese airspace, they have legal permission to shoot it down. Surprisingly, this news is not receiving substantial coverage in the U.S. media. The international news is reporting that China has threatened to shoot down the plane, which is a matter of great concern. This kind of situation has historically been a trigger for world wars. For example, World War I began with the shot heard round the world in Sarajevo, where Archduke Franz Ferdinand of Austria-Hungary was assassinated. It is crucial to prevent any escalation of conflict. In April of this year, Texas Governor Greg Abbott announced plans to send illegal immigrants from the southern border to Washington, D.C., using buses and airplanes. However, the number of immigrants being sent has spiraled out of control, causing strain on Washington, D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser has requested the activation of the National Guard to handle the large influx of illegal immigrants on the city's streets. Should Texas and Arizona continue sending illegal immigrants to Washington, D.C., until the message to secure the southern border is received? Or should they immediately stop and trust that Washington, D.C., will resolve the issue? Your thoughts and opinions on this matter are welcome in the comments. China recently decided to shut down a district with a population of 1 million due to 4 COVID-19 cases. As part of their zero-COVID policy, all restaurants, bars, cafes, and businesses in the area will be closed. Consequently, 1 million people will be subjected to government-imposed house arrest because of just 4 cases of COVID-19. This is quite an extreme measure. Approximately 115,000 railroad workers are on the verge of a national strike. 12 railroad companies are reporting that their employees are ready to shut down all railroads in the United States. With the focus on work-from-home arrangements, lockdowns, and pursuing white-collar jobs through college, many well-paying railroad positions remain unfilled. The workers are under immense pressure to work double shifts to compensate for the lack of new hires. Although railroad jobs offer lucrative salaries, dissatisfaction among employees has increased due to government redirection of workers and corporate cost-cutting measures that reduced hiring. The burden has become too much for the employees, leading to their current stance. The railroad workers are ready to fight back, but their actions could have significant repercussions for all of us in the United States. Almost everything we buy or own has likely been transported on a railroad car at some point. Goods arrive from other countries on ships and are then transferred to railroads for transportation over thousands of miles. The final leg of delivery is often handled by truckers, who are considered heroes in our country. However, if the railroads shut down, truckers will be out of work, and this will have a profound impact. The railroad industry is a crucial linchpin in our infrastructure. Disrupting it would cause a ripple effect, leading to major problems. BNSF, Union Pacific, CSX, and Norfolk Southern, among others, are indicating that they are on the brink of shutting down. These companies, along with several others, have been struggling to meet employment demands for years. Now, they are warning that 115,000 employees are prepared to halt all railroad operations in the United States. The consequences of such an action would be significant. It is important to understand the gravity of this situation. While I am naturally an optimist and enjoy a lighthearted approach to life, it is crucial to take steps to ensure food security. I have no personal gain from saying this, but it would be wise to start building up your food storage. Even if money is tight, consider picking up a few extra items every week at the grocery store, such as rice, beans, soup, and stew. These items can help sustain you during a potential food shortage. Reports of global food shortages persist, despite efforts by countries like Russia and Ukraine to release food from their reserves. The inability to plant new crops for the upcoming year has raised concerns that 50 million people could starve, and others may need to ration food. This situation reminds me of Germany's over-reliance on Russia for oil and gas, which led to vulnerabilities and challenges. The world's dependence on Ukraine and Russia for basic food has become a concerning issue. However, it seems that the actions of the world government in response to the food crisis are exacerbating the situation. Farmers are being shut down, ranchers are being instructed to destroy their livestock, and food growers are being denied access to fertilizer. These measures appear to be thinning the food supply deliberately, which is alarming. I don't mean to sound negative, but these are the reports I'm reading from reputable sources outside the mainstream media. While I don't aim to scare anyone, I believe it's important to be prepared in case something does happen. I hope that this situation resolves itself, and I believe that the impact on the United States may differ from that on other countries. There are signs within the stock market indicating a potential turnaround, which typically suggests a rebound. As a result, I'm starting to invest in select stocks related to energy and food, as these sectors are fundamental to the strength of a nation